Welcome everyone, we were just beginning. So this here is my Frost Dancer rogue build, which is based around dancing knives and cold imbuement, and this is basically how it works. Dancing knives here is a channeled ability that uses stacks, and it recovers these stacks via cooldowns, and it also requires some of the stacks when you travel 30 meters. So that basically means the faster we move, the quicker we get these stacks back. So maximum movement speed is a must in this build. And that whole ability is currently pretty strong because it can snapshot a variety of things like cold imbuement here, or the bonuses from concealment, and a few aspects on passive. However, if this dance gets interrupted, the snapshots are gone and we need to reapply them. So let me show you real quick what I mean. So on this amulet here, I have the synergy aspect, and it basically says that after we use concealment, our next agility skill, in this case Dance of Knives, deals 75 more damage for as long as we hold down the button. The same goes for Danse Macabre. It's 50% damage for our next ability after using concealment. Okay, let's talk items real quick. So in the helm slot we use Shaco to fix our armor and get some extra DR, and some damage and utility from the +4 to all skills, as well as a lot of CDR, so we can use cold imbuement and concealment more often. Materials fixes our resists and gives us movement speed and damage reduction. The gloves have edge masters because we don't spend resource, and every offensive slot that we have tempered has shroud damage. On the pantsuits we have Umbrus aspect, so we can proc more shrouds, which give us more damage and more defense. On the boots we have movement speed and the frostbitten aspect for more damage. And on the crossbow we have also shroud damage and double chance for dancing knives, and the true sight aspect, which we combine with the inner sight class mechanic. On the amulet we use synergy. On the ring we use the elemental aspect, so once it's active it hurts. And we also use subterfuge skill cooldown reduction for concealment. On the other ring we have the shards aspect, so our dancing knives proc additional shards, which helps us with clear speed. We also have additional stacks for cold imbuement, so we don't always have to refresh it. On the melee weapons we run double chance for dancing knives and shroud damage, and on this one we have the stone vigor aspect and the cold clip aspect for more damage. So as specialization, as I mentioned before, we use inner sight, and no, that's wrong, we need this one. In the skill tree we waste our first 2 points on garbage because we don't need it, and then we can unlock damage reduction versus close and siphoning strikes for more healing on crit. Here we get damage reduction against dots, and we pick caltrops and the upgrade so we can deal more damage against bosses. All remaining points go into Dance of Knives for more damage, and we pick the piercing upgrade because the other one is only useful when you interrupt the channeling. Then we put 1 point into dash and we pick the upgrade so we can use dash more often, which is really good for our mobility. And 3 points into weapon mastery for more damage, unstable elixirs for more damage, trick attacks, which is really good when you combine it with unstable elixirs while you are inside a group of elite enemies, so you will deal a big load of extra damage, and also ballistra for the occasional little damage boost when you evade before you unleash your snapshotting combo. A few points go into concealment to reduce its cooldown, and of course the best upgrade for the ability for our build, our next ability always critically strikes and makes enemies vulnerable, and since we snapshot that, we always have this effect up all the time for as long as we channel the ability. All points go into Dark Shroud, and we pick the healing upgrade because we don't need crit anymore. Then we put 3 points into Exploit, 3 points into Malice, and also into Frigid Finesse. Also full points into Cold Imbuement and the last upgrade, so we deal 40% extra damage against frozen enemies or staggered bosses. Then we put 3 points into Alchemist Fortune, because we have some crowd control chance on our gear from the tempering recipes, and with that little boost to lucky hit chance we proc these more often. And of course full points into Impetus, because we get 15% more damage for our agility abilities, so basically DK. And at long last, Momentum, because we get 30% DR, movement speed, and 50% extra damage for our Dancing Knives ability. Now let's have a look at our Paragon board real quick. Our first glyph that we use is Versatility for more Dancing Knife damage, because it's a non-basic, non-core ability. Then we pick the Danse Macabre board and the Legendary Keynote for more damage, and as a glyph we use Combat for more critical damage, and since we have a 100% crit chance we get the full damage out of this baby here. Next board is Exploit Weakness, because we always make enemies vulnerable, so this is up all the time. And as a glyph we have Devious, because this one got buffed now, it now works versus bosses and gives us more crowd control damage. Then we pick Cheap Shot for damage against CC, and Kenny for additional raw damage. And then we pick the control glyph on this board for more damage against frozen and stunned enemies, and that's what we do all the time. And as an additional legendary note here, Eldritch Bounty, so we get 20% more frost damage when we use our cold imbuement. This one does not get re-refreshed by just hitting enemies, so we have to reuse it every 9 seconds, but that's perfectly fine in between. So after playing around with it for a while, I think that the build is really good for fast clears. It slows down a bit against tougher foes, and it doesn't have the best DPS against bosses. A problem that I recognized is that currently the skill doesn't count the distance that you travel properly. So if you run in zigzags, or you bump against objects a lot, or you run in small circles, you will run out of stacks quickly. That's why I currently recommend to run in a straight line or bigger circles, and that will save you your stacks. In dungeons, however, try to stop spinning in between monster packs. That helped me a lot when it comes to keeping my stack count up. I mean, it's an issue that Blizzard can fix. Okay, so my current build is definitely not the best around, and there's a lot of room for improvements to be made, and the same also goes for the glyphs, but once this build is fully maxed out, it's gonna slap. So if this little build guide kindled your interest, give it a shot. It's really fun and satisfying to play when it comes to fast clearing pits or simply blasting through hell tides. So that being said, have a nice day and bye bye.